marijuana? What can public safety do to address this? As well as recognizing that there's cameras in the building, cameras and security, but there's concerns that nothing is being done to correct the bad situation with
security getting down.
Hi, good morning again. I'd just like to acknowledge in my short time here the relationship between Reliance Security and our neighborhood coordination officers. They work closely, they have each other's Reliance Security and the neighborhood coordination officers. So if we do get a complaint, you can always call 911. You could report it to security. They relay the information to our officers, and our officers are happy to respond. If you have a specific complaint, you could always give it to me after this meeting. No, our officers did over 120 directed patrols in What I would say is we're open to working together, and we live. No, the neighborhood coordination program is the idea to open the door to conversations like this where we can improve. We're always looking to improve. Sure. If you want to see me after, we could talk more about this. Sure. All right, thank you.
Well, let me also add, young lady, and I appreciate that, when it comes to public safety, it is something that we all are responsible for. And it should not all fall on the burden of the NYPD and law enforcement. So what we have done years ago, and Councilmember Althea Stevens is working on this today, the New York City Crisis Management System looks at gun violence and violence in general from a holistic perspective. So we look at communities that are often over-policed and what we can do to bring resources in those communities. When it comes to jobs, when it comes to youth programs, when it comes to building up our neighborhoods with an understanding that the children and families need services. So the crisis management system is in every borough, all 5 boroughs across the city of New York, and right here in the Bronx. So what we are looking to do is expand existing organizations like RTG, Release the Grip, SOS, Save Our Streets, BRAG, Bronx Rising Against Gun Violence. There's also other organizations, SUV, Stand Up to Violence. Many of them have catchment areas within a precinct, right? And so if it's the 4-6, if it's the East Side, many of them work in conjunction with a hospital, Jacoby, North Central, Lincoln Hospital, right? So what we're looking to do is expand on that, but with expansion, we need money, we need resources. These are organizations who are credible messengers, they are violence interrupters, and they work within communities and young people, offering jobs and mentoring programs. Many of them themselves have been formerly incarcerated and justice involved, and so they bring a different perspective that is not always a law enforcement response. That has been going on for years, and we are looking to build and expand on that because we realize in all of this work that in order for all of us to actually feel safe, we need to make sure we have the programs in place. Do you want to add? So I just, but I think it's so a couple of things, right? And I think it's important for us to even, when we talk about, you know, cops and even programs, I think there's a couple of levels to this, right? And just starting at the basic. So the fact that we have a question that there's young people outside smoking, and we as adults are not feeling empowered to either one, have a conversation with their parents, it's talking about the work of the community, because I believe that some of this has to do with us and not taking responsibility for our young people. And I get it, sometimes our young people, they act a little crazy, but there is no reason why, even if you don't feel comfortable speaking to them, that we're not speaking to their parents saying, I saw Johnny downstairs and he was in the building smoking weed. And I get it, sometimes the parents are ahead, but that doesn't, I think that we have to start at the basic point of what a community consists of and what a community looks like, and have to take some responsibility for our community before we want other people to come in. So that's one, I want to start there. So yes, I think that if we're seeing a lot of young people out here, how are we talking amongst ourselves as adults saying, whose child is that? And does he have a grandmother? Because sometimes maybe they're struggling in a household. How are we helping to support each other? So there's no way that I'm not going to make sure we level set and start there, saying we as a community have to start stepping in for each other. So that's one. There is a number of programs we are trying to work on. Our board president just talked about the CMS program. We do have a CMS site that is supposed to be expanded here, and some of that work is thinking about who are the people, because one of the things I'm a believer of, who are the people in the community already doing this work? Because exactly, if you are already doing, let me. Absolutely. Again, that's what I just said. I just said organizations that's coming in here, who's doing the work, because those are the people that I want to partner with. So let me finish. I think we're saying the same thing, my brother. Agreed. That's what I just said. We're on the same page. So I'm gonna say this, because we gotta move on. Because I'm gonna say this. Let's figure out how me and you can figure that out. Because if you're saying you already have the infrastructure, let's figure out how to get it going. That's it. It's the same thing, brother. Absolutely. I want you, brother, I want you. I want you. That's what I'm saying. For me, it's about how do I make sure the people here who are doing the work continue to do the work and give you the tools to do it. That's it. That's what I said. If you want to work, let's figure out how to work together. That's it. I don't believe in bringing people from the outside to come in to change our community. We have the tools that we need already here. We have the people. We have people doing the work. It's about who's willing to do the work and how do we work together. That's it. That's it. So we're saying the same thing.
And I want to say this, as I told you that I'm talking about the root causes and the solutions. I agree with that. That's why I've got the youth council and I'm going to sit with them. But it's about us meeting you where you are. You're absolutely right. So Trayvon, Black Chef from my office is here. Hook with him because we want to talk to you. What did I just say? I said I want to come here to listen to you to see what solutions you have. I can sit on 161st Street all day and make up things that I think would work, but only you know what will work for you. So that's why we are here to listen to you and do that. Trayvon is here. Talk to anybody interested, because those are the conversations not only do I want to have, let you be able to do it.
All right. So we are going to, I understand everyone's very, very passionate and everyone wants to speak. We're going to give everyone a moment, but we are doing it through speaker cards. So we are trying to...
You are not letting the community speak. Politicians have been here talking. We live here. We have to endure this every day. I have been putting things out of the lobby. I have been clearing the lobby with children smoking marijuana in the lobby for months. I haven't stopped because of the same thing. The security will come in and walk around and look around and walk out.
No, we got it. We got it. Everyone signed up to ask a question and we have it here. So that's what we want to make sure we get. Can we get through the cards first? Everyone took an opportunity to write a question down. No, and we're here. We're not, ma'am, we're not leaving. We are here to have a conversation with everyone. I just need to make sure that everyone has respect for each other. We are not going to have a town hall that gets out of order. Everyone has to have respect. You all live here. You see each other every day. We are here to work with you, but I need everyone to have respect for each other. We don't need people talking out of order. We're not leaving. So let's go to the cards and then we will have an opportunity for those that did not ask a question. Is that okay? Okay, let's go. Thank you.
All right, there's a twofold question here. So who are the new corporate owners of River Park Towers? What role does the Paths play in the community? As well as who are the members of the River Park Towers Advisory Board and when and where do they meet?
Hello? Okay, yeah, thank you. So Omni Reliant was the company that acquired River Park Towers in December of 2012. And in May of 2023, River Park Towers, along with every property that was owned by Omni New York was the parent company, and Reliant Realty Services was the management company that managed all of the properties. They were acquired by a company called Nuveen. So Nuveen is the company that owns every asset that was previously owned by Omni New York and managed by Reliant Realty Services. Paths is now the new management company for all of the assets that are owned by Nuveen. So that is Paths is now the new name. Omni New York is the former owner, as well as Reliant is the former management company. Thank you.
Who can speak about the advisory board? Celeste?
Okay, so the question was, who is the advisory board and where does the advisory board meet? The panel is right there. If you look this way, it's Ms. Scott, raise your hand. Ms. Barbara. We have Ms. Janie, who y'all know. Who are we missing? Ms. Beth, she is running for vice president. Okay, so she meets with us. We are planning everything for our community. So we meet at the Tennis Association office, which is between Building 10 and Building 20. So please remember, every first Wednesday, you can meet there. Every first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. is our meeting. And next month, February 7th, the management will be there. So spread the word on that. Let's come with some great questions. It's all about improving and doing better. Also, we are planning our election. We want everyone to be involved. So the advisory board is the ones that are putting everything together. We're planning, we're meeting, we're having conversations. We're speaking to Madam President Vanessa Gibson and all the public officials because we're starting at the beginning. But we need you to be there. And so if you have any questions for the advisory board, we are here. If you want to volunteer, if you want to create a committee, if you want to be involved with giving us ideas about our community, make sure you have that flyer that we gave you. There is a phone number there that you can reach us at, and we will make an appointment, set an appointment, and hear what you have to say. Because guess what? Everyone has an idea, everyone has a gift, and we want to see you. We want to see your plans, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. So there are concerns about the safety of drinking water. Is the water safe now? Can you expand on that?
Hi, so I just wanted to mention that, give you some background. So back in August, we started initiating an evaluation because we found that 2 people had tested positive, right, for Legionella. And so just to go back, Legionella is a common bacteria that is in the environment, but it thrives when there's water, right, and warm water. So we've tested the bacteria and noticed that yes, the results were positive, and we've been working with management so that there's a remediation program in place. And so currently, management has been treating and disinfecting the water supply. And so what we're recommending is that the water used in the building, when you're showering, you should, instead of shower, you should be bathing, okay? Because remember that the water, the way that this bacteria gets out is through the vapor. And so when you're in the shower, that's the opportunity. And so we want to recommend that everyone who has underlying conditions and that they, just bathe instead of showering. You cannot ingest the bacteria. I think that's very important for everyone to know. The bacteria cannot be ingested. So by drinking water, you will not get it. Also, can you use the water? You use the water, you can use the water, and what we're recommending is that you use the cold water when you're cooking, right? You don't drink hot water. And like I said earlier, it is important that when you're showering, the vapors, that's when you're exposed to it. So I just wanted to turn it over to the management company in case you wanted to add what are the remediation process that are happening.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that and sharing that with the community. So one of the things that we are engaged in doing as part of the ARTP, which is the Acute Remediation Treatment Plan. In addition, we have actually gone above that protocol by actually engaging in the changing, and we're in the process of doing that, is changing shower heads, changing kitchen faucets, and bathroom faucets as well. And so the plan is not only to do it in buildings 10 and 20, which was where it was detected, but also doing it in buildings 30 and 40. So the idea is to get in front of it, get ahead of it, and be proactive.
So let me just add, everyone is familiar with the Legionnaires outbreak that we had several years ago in the Bronx, right? So as a result of that, we discovered that Legionella, the bacteria, was detected in cooling towers in certain residential and commercial buildings in the city of New York. Every year, annually, there are several hundred cases of Legionnaires across the city of New York. And you never hear about it because usually the person or persons are not hospitalized and there are no deaths. But when we had the Legionnaires outbreak in the Bronx, we had deaths. So what we did as a city council was we enacted new legislation that forces management and landlord companies to inspect and disinfect their cooling towers. This is scary to hear that we have had a Legionnaires, when we say outbreak, honestly, as the Deputy Commissioner said, this was 2 people that tested positive in a calendar year. That's what the Department of Health does. They track cases. So we don't know. It could have been January, April, or any other time in one calendar year, and that triggers an alert to the development, to the management, to the landlord. So what I want to make sure on behalf of everyone here at River Park Towers is that management is disinfecting the cooling towers, and there is a proper inspection by the health department. I'm grateful to hear, thank you, that you are going to get new shower faucets as well as in your kitchen, but I want to make sure that moving forward, we have a better system that holds the management accountable and make sure that these cooling towers are cleaned and properly disinfected on a quarterly basis. That's what the law says. The law says that anyone in New York City that has a cooling tower has to disinfect it quarterly, every few months. And there is a system by the health department to oversee that. So now that we have seen 2 cases here at RPT, we have a better system to come in and monitor the work that's being done by the management and the landlord. Does that make sense? Okay, because when you are being told now that you have to bathe versus shower, I don't know how many of you actually bathe, but bathing may not be an option for some people, right? So I wonder, Deputy Commissioner, if bathing is not an option for some of the residents, what else can they do? Because people need to shower, and we need to make sure that we're safe doing that.
And just even before the Deputy Commissioner speaks, I just wanted to also point out the legislation that Borough President Gibson was talking about was passed during the time that she was in council. But as we can see, there was another incident in Highbridge too when I first got in office as well. And so we have other legislation actually in the pipeline now to address this too. So I'm already happy to hear that management is looking to change shower heads and all those. But we actually have legislation that we are working on to get passed hopefully this year to mandate management companies to ensure that they have proper shower heads and faucets and things like that, so that we can also minimize this, right? So they went as far as getting the cooling towers disinfected quarterly, and that was part of the law. But now we're trying to take it a step further to make sure that management companies and landlords are also taking precautions on their steps. So just the thing, and this is the other thing, sometimes in government it takes a really long time for things to get done. So I do want to acknowledge that the management company is taking a step that they're not required to do right now, but they are doing it, and this is something we are trying to get past at the city level, because this has been something that we've been seeing consistently in the Bronx, and the Bronx delegation, and that's all the council members across the Bronx. This is something that we've made a priority and really fighting for, because we've seen this a lot in our communities.
Sure, and so I just wanted to say that we strongly advise everyone, especially people over the age of 55, those who are immunocompromised and smokers, to avoid hot showers, because the hot showers, that's when the aerosol gets into the air, the bacteria, and then you breathe it in. So we're saying you should, for now, avoid it. We are monitoring this situation, and we're hoping that, in the next, few weeks or months, we continue. Okay? And I was going to say that the management company also addressed that they are changing the buildings, and that is happening.
I was just, again, I'll just repeat the point. We are in the process, and we've already replaced literally hundreds of apartments, and the aim is to do all 1,654 apartments. That's the goal.
So we do have cards for follow-up questions. I know we do have to keep this kind of in order. So I do want to kind of tie in a larger about the buildings. Has there been a recent assessment of the buildings? There was a question tied to that regarding concerns about heat in their apartments, not enough hot water. as well as the dryers in the laundry room are often out of service. Is there a plan to maintain and replace any of these units?
Okay, so let's take those one at a time. Let's talk about the structure first, right? So the buildings are inspected based on New York City Local Law 11, which requires the facades to be inspected every 5 years. We currently have scaffolds on all 4 buildings because we're in the middle of the cycle between cycle 8 and cycle 9 of Local Law 11, and we're presently doing literally an immense amount of work that we need to complete by the end of the spring, early summer. So that is underway right now. We also have some structural work with structural engineers that are working on different parts of all 4 towers. With regards to the heating plant, right? We have when Omni acquired these buildings in 2012, they changed the boiler system, and we actually have a really pretty sophisticated boiler system that provides heat and hot water to all of the units. So if there is a particular issue, I would say that it is very isolated because we monitor via the internet the temperature in every building. So if there is an isolated instance, just let the office know and we'll certainly take care of it. With regards to the laundry rooms, CSC Service Works is the operator of the laundry rooms, and we just recently, I believe it was in building 20, where we may have had the laundry rooms, the laundry equipment upgraded. And if there's an issue, let the office know, and we'll be happy to let CSC, who's the operator, know so that they can service the equipment. Thank you.
So, during this time of the housing crisis, what are some of the resources people of the community can get assistance with? Specifically noted rental arrears, Section 8 issues, timely reasonable accommodations, and housing legal counsel. Yeah. So during this time of housing crisis, what are some of the resources people within the community can get assistance with? And maybe some of the plans for getting assistance, such as rental arrears, Section 8 issues, and then reasonable accommodations and housing legal counsel.
Okay. So I can speak a little bit about some of the rental assistance programs. During the pandemic, the state legislators and Governor Hochul enacted the ERAP program, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which was a limited program but allowed a significant level of funding for residents that had fallen behind in their rent. Rental arrears cases. My ombudsman team, Ms. Larsenia Walton, we are still getting a number of clients coming to the office that have rental arrears that are still post-COVID, and there are existing programs within the city of New York that will help you one-shot deals through HRA and other programs. Section 8 recipients, there's also a process as well if you are a recipient, an existing Section 8 recipient where you're able to get assistance. As far as I know, Ms. Walter, are there new Section 8 applications? Okay, no new. Okay, so this is just with specifics on current Section 8 clients in terms of assistance, the inspections of your apartment, making sure that the agency is paying the landlord the rent for your apartment, because there are times when there are inconsistencies on that. The council member's office as well can speak to the work that they're doing to help, but overall, a lot of the COVID era funding streams have been exhausted at this point. So what we are now looking at is working with our Congress member and working with other elected officials, because it is budget season now. What can we do to continue to provide further support for residents in our borough here at RPT that are still behind in their rent? Particularly families that may not have the same income that they had pre-COVID versus post-COVID. A lot of residents lost their income, they lost wages, and so there are many people still struggling to get back to the pre-COVID era income levels that they had. But individual cases like that, you can always talk to us, reaching out to us. If you have reached out to management and you need further assistance, we will be able to help you on an individual level. Councilmember, anything you want to add?
Just a couple of things. So we have a number of services. Like I said before, we are really intentional about trying to make sure we have things in the district office so folks don't have to go too far out. But every Tuesday we have Q&A Law, who's in our office, who will be doing consultations on housing. They're housing lawyers, and so they give free legal assistance, they give advice, they do different consultations, so please take advantage of that. You can call my office and make an appointment. Also, we have MAC. Come in, they're an organization that's in the community that also helps with rental assistance. They also help with legal assistance as well, and they also help with applications to find new housing. So again, we have a lot of different services that take place in the office. So please, if you have questions, please always feel free to reach out, and we can also help direct some of the things that even the borough president was just talking about.
So we have several questions regarding vehicles and their connection to River Park Towers. So I'm going to ask a couple different components of this question. Why does security at the gate prevent seniors from being dropped off by cabs? What, if anything, is being done about the taxi drivers in front of the school? They block the crosswalk, double park, create traffic every morning. And what are we doing about illegal usage of electric scooters?
Okay, so I can speak about the traffic condition around the school. I wasn't aware of it, but I am now. So, well, like I said, listen, what we're gonna do, we have 6 youth coordination officers that respond to our schools every day. The sergeants in the back, we're gonna send them there starting Monday, and we're gonna address the condition immediately. We also have a pilot program in the 46th precinct where if you call 311, I'm saying we're gonna go there Monday. If you call 311, it's documented. Sometimes 911 priorities take precedent over 311 for obvious reasons. We have a pilot program where those 311s are directed immediately to traffic units, and they will respond and handle it much quicker. But guys, we'll be there Monday, right? Make sure the cabs are out of the crosswalk. Thank you.
Yeah. With regards to e-bikes and e-scooters, that is certainly a challenge citywide, right? And the lithium batteries we know, pose particularly an FDNY challenge because, particularly if they're not UL approved, the lithium batteries are very susceptible to overheating and perhaps starting a fire. But in terms of citywide enforcement ability, I think that we are somewhat challenged with how we enforce. We send a violation letter, lease violation letter, but in terms of beyond enforcing at that level, we are at this point I don't think we have definitive direction on that.
Well, just a couple of things. At the city council level, this is an issue that everywhere we go across the city, not just in the Bronx, across the city, everyone is having issues with the e-bikes. because it was something that was reactionary during the pandemic. We were like, okay, we just need to make sure this is happening. People want to be able to have access, but we now are seeing that it has become an issue in our communities. There's a number of legislation that we do have in, not only at the city level, but I also know the state. They're going up there and there's things that they're working on. But at the city level, I know we have a number of legislations, one around getting them registered and making sure that we have accounting for them, and also being able to, you know, if there is an issue, find who actually has the bike. So there's a number of legislation. The hope is that we have some stuff passed this year. But I do also want to just reiterate something that the Axel had said. 311 is our best friend. So let's say if you're saying that there's a whole bunch of cars and things outside in front of the school, if you go on a 311 app, and I know sometimes it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I promise you, it helps me. Because what happens is, that is the data that the city uses to say this is where we want to deploy resources at. So sometimes it'll take you 2 minutes. Just take a picture. If you have the 311 app on your phone, take a picture and log the complaint. It is so important because what happens is when you call my office and I'm like, hey, did you call 311? We might actually like, hey, could you log it in? So that when we call, we have the data. I have sat in so many hearings where I'm like telling the commissioner, I'm hearing this is what they're saying, and they're like, well, the data shows that it's actually improving because we haven't had any calls. So I just want to stress the importance of 311. It is our friend. Sometimes it's a nuisance. Even if you forget, just go back on and like, oh, I had this incident earlier, let me log it, because it really does help us and it helps the city track the data. But again, the scooter thing is an issue, and at the city and the state level, we are all working on legislation on how to regulate and how to make sure that everyone stays safe in the community.
So I know there was also a question asked, and Mr. Garcia, I want to make sure that we understand that this is a partnership, not just with security here, but also with the 4-6 precinct. We have a new inspector, Jeremy Schuberlin, our captain is here, but the issues that I have seen myself coming to RPT are not new. They have been going on for years with all the traffic on the bridge. Now, there's a couple of things we can do, but I want to be very clear that when we start enforcement operations, it's going to change the behavior, but some of the people that we know are going to be a part of that enforcement. So again, a lot of times when we start these joint operations, people will then call us and say, hey, my cousin got a ticket, or this one did this, so I want to be very clear. That bridge is crowded. And I have seen a lot of the unlicensed and illegal cabs that try to pick passengers up that are not supposed to do that. So number one, we will work with TLC. That's the Taxi and Limousine Commission. They do joint operations all the time. And we want to make sure that we get rid of all of those that are not legal. Like I'm talking to the point where they don't even have TLC license plates. Do not get in those vehicles. They're illegal, they're unlicensed, and it's dangerous. The management and security will work with the 4-6 on more patrols, but again, this is all about balance, because we want to make sure that we do it in a way that people don't feel that it's too much. Because again, there's always a give and take with this partnership. But I want to understand when a senior or an older adult comes home from a doctor's appointment in a cab or an accessoride, can they be allowed to come on the Esplanade? Because I know years ago, under the previous management, the reason why there have been restrictions made is because everybody would say they're dropping off. And they would come in and they would never leave. So when you all walk to your buildings, you saw all that traffic. And so we have to go in and restrict, because there are some that take advantage of the ability to come into the development. So now that this has been brought up, I want to find out from our management, is there a process by which we can look at older adults and seniors being able to get dropped off inside of the development and not at the security, so that they can be closer to their buildings? Is that what we're asking? Okay, and now, okay, I just want to make sure. Mr. Garcia, I'm sure this has been raised to you before. I just want to make sure.
Yes, thank you for the question. It's an important question, a sensitive question. And look, frankly, if any senior has been in the past inconvenienced, frankly, we apologize for that. Just to be clear, we apologize sincerely for that. But I'll tell you, we have a list of our seniors. We do, and to us, that's an important constituency. We will in real time, update with our security gate and make sure that any senior that is going to come into the property absolutely be allowed to come in. There's no question about that. We will have a refresh on that detail. Again, if it has happened in the past, for that we apologize, quite frankly. But we will make sure that we will update the security team. Any senior that is going to come into the gate, they will be allowed in.
Hold on. So, thank you. I think one of the important things in this conversation is that management is addressing these points. And so, we can continue. Please have questions. We will continue to embrace them. So,
I'm just saying, and that could be the hardest time for us to get. I have to tell them sometimes, and I'm just saying, oh, you don't look disabled. It's their response. And not Robert.
I got you. You heard that? Okay. Okay. Mr. Garcia, so we want to make sure we have a better system. Security needs to work with us on defining, again, like the young lady was saying, she told security that she was disabled, and the response was, you don't look disabled. You can't always visualize a disability. Let's be very clear, and that's discrimination. So let's be very clear that we have to define who is allowed to come into development when they're being dropped off, because you can't always see a person for their disability if they're sitting in a vehicle or an accessory. So can we just tighten that up and make sure there's a better plan? Thank you. Keep on.
Okay, so this is again several-fold, but it has to do with the infrastructure of the River Park Towers. There were concerns about some deep holes in the cement on the parking garage. There are questions about the elevators and how they're functioning, being maintained properly, as well as concerns of general repairs of leaks in the windows and other places within the River Park Towers.
The garage, there's a new law, local law 126, which requires the garage here to be inspected and filed with New York City DOB by August of 24. We have engaged a structural team, an engineering team that will be inspecting all 7 levels of the garage. Any repairs that need to be made will be identified and will be made. With regards to the elevator, BP Elevator is the elevator service company. We have made arrangements and provided space for a mechanic to be on site literally 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, from 8 to 5, there will be a mechanic on site every day. And if there's no issue with the elevators, they will be doing preventative work. So we have already made arrangements for that, to have, again, a mechanic 5 days a week on site servicing the 16 elevators of the 4 towers.
Thank you. So there's a question, or a couple of questions regarding security. So if it could be noted. What is does River Park Towers depend solely on the 46th precinct? And has crime at River Park Towers decreased? If so, can we give some information comparing different years?
When we look specifically at River Park Towers crime in 2023, we did see decreases in 3 of the 7 major crime categories. Murder, grand larceny, auto, all decreased in 2023. Sure, let me get to that, I'll tell you in 1 second. So there were no shooting incidents inside of River Park Towers. There was a total of 78 major index crimes recorded in the development. In regards to the crimes we saw increases in, robberies, we had 8 in 2023 versus 4 in 2022. Of those 8, we're happy to say that 7 were closed to arrest and 1 remains open and under investigation. For burglaries, there were 5 incidents versus 0 in 2022. Of those 5 incidents, 3 are closed to arrest and 2 are open investigations. 2 of these burglaries were committed by family members and domestic in nature. For felony assaults, we did see an increase. We increased from 27 to 34 incidents in 2023. 28 of those 34 incidents are closed with an arrest made. 6 are open investigations. And regarding grand larceny auto, which is a stolen vehicle, there were 2 reported incidents in all of 2023. Both of them were mopeds, delivery drivers making deliveries to. Thank you.
Did you all hear that? In 2023, there were no shooting incidents, shooting victims in River Park Towers. Did you hear that? So the reason why I just repeated it is because, again, we realize that we have challenges that we face every day. But let me acknowledge the progress that we have made at River Park Towers because of all of you. Because people are calling, there are services, and we realize again that this is a collaboration, ladies and gentlemen. We don't get to celebrate these numbers all the time. Trust and believe me, I see crime from the entire borough, as does the district attorney. And to hear that we had no shooting incidents and victims and homicides in 2023 is a testament to all of you. So thank you, River Park Towers. Can we do that in 2024? We want more in 2024? Let's do this work so that we have safe communities in River Park Towers. So I'm glad to hear that, and I know we gotta continue. Just wanted to recognize that.
Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge that as well. You know, this is a joint effort. Public safety is the responsibility of everybody. It shouldn't be the default of the NYPD and the DA. We're gonna do what we have to do, but we can't do it without you. So it's good that there was no homicides, no non-fatal shootings and incidents in River Park Towers. That's great. In 2022, we did have an investigation and a takedown by my office of individuals that were responsible for that. But that's only one part of it. What you also need is you telling us now that that has been taken care of, what can we do to continue to make the community safe? And that was part of your presentation, brother, and this sister over here saying the same thing. What else can we do? Because it shouldn't have to be me, and it shouldn't have to be the police. It's about you. This is our community, right? So we can do better together. You tell me what the solutions are, and we'll sit down. And it's all about meeting you where you are. Because a lot of this work is very dangerous. People can't even go outside of their community to do it. But should you have to when you're already in your community? So that's the work that we want to do, those solutions. Talking about handling the problems in the community without the police, I'm all for that. I'm sure the police are for that too. We want to do those things. So let's talk about it and be about it at the same time. We're going to do our part. I'm not afraid to do it. I told you. I'm going to hold people accountable. That's what I do. Look, I did this for a long time as an assistant DA, 16 years as a judge as well, okay? So I know this work. And 8 years now as a DA. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So I'm going to make sure we get it done. But we got to work together. talk about the solution. So Trayvon is here. We are willing to listen and talk to make sure that it happens.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask a question with a number of components, and it has to do with cleanliness in the area, both in River Park Towers as well as in the surrounding area. So who is responsible for cleaning the streets during the winter for snow, ice, animal droppings, and other debris during the summer? There were a number of questions about feces on the ground in the area and making sure that it's cleaned up, and who's picking up after their dogs. There is questions about pest control, if there's pesticides used and how frequently, as well as plan for picking up trash collection. Again, some of this is both on River Park Towers as well as off. So I would say for all those pieces, how that can be addressed.
Well, I'll just start off with sanitation is definitely responsible for picking up trash, but they are in my top 5 agencies that I'm always yelling at because they sometimes forget this district and Bronx exists. And so again, I'm going to repeat what I said before, 311 is our friend because they are one of the #1 culprits who consistently tell me, oh, we don't get any complaints. They said the rat complaints are going down across the city. So I need you guys to make sure that, especially when you're seeing trash, and you're seeing rats and all those things, it is going to be instrumental for you to call 311 and log that information in. And also reach out to our office. If there is a lack of, if you see a lack of cleanliness and things like that, call 311 and call our office, because what happens is we're going to call sanitation and say, hey, this is happening and this is where it's happening at, and have them dispatch someone as soon as possible. The other piece is we had a town hall specifically with sanitation a couple of months ago. I can definitely set up another town hall specifically for RPT to have sanitation come in and actually talk to you guys about the issues, because I have seen myself around the perimeter, especially with like alternate side parking, cars don't move, so literally they're just coming down the middle, our streets are not getting clean. And so thinking about what does enforcement look like, and again, our borough president already said it, once we start the enforcement, people will be upset, but I do think that it is part of it. Our streets are not being cleaned, and it's like we are all just being ignored. So it's important for you to just log that information, let us know when it's not happening so we can come here. Another thing we can think about doing is, my office, we do get additional funding, and sometimes because sanitation forgets us, I have to supplement, which means I take money from other programming areas to supplement what sanitation isn't doing, and thinking about getting a route from one of our providers like ACE, who does work, and they'll do a different route to do some cleanup here. So that is something I would definitely look into to help with the cleanliness.
Yeah, so, and regarding picking up after the dogs, I mean, there is some responsibility for, if you have a dog, folks need to pick up after their dog. And frankly, and our staff, the staff for the buildings, if it's there, we have to clean it, and we clean the sidewalks, but it's a daily event. And so I think that if someone, and if residents have dogs, number one, they need to have them on a leash. And number two, you take them out, you gotta clean up after your dog, you gotta pick up after your dog. It should not be the responsibility, frankly, of the property manager or the porter or the superintendent. It shouldn't be that case.
I just want to add that New York City has a robust approach for the rats. And so right now we have a rat czar that's really looking at the data. So it's really, our focus is looking at data, coordinating our efforts, and working together, a multi-agency approach to really focus on addressing the rat issue. So the health department is working together with sanitation, parks department, NYCHA, DOE, to see how we could start mitigating this issue.
If you all see areas that need a lot of attention, the best medicine as well, in addition to calling 311, send us emails with pictures. We love pictures because we send them directly to DSNY. That also includes sidewalk, crosswalk, pedestrian pathways, bus stops. When it comes to inclement weather, snow, MTA, New York City Transit, Department of Sanitation, a number of agencies that are responsible for the cleanliness of our streets. Along Sedgwick Avenue, where we have street cleaning rules and some of the cars don't move. If cars don't move, the streets do not get cleaned. It's as simple as that. I also, the DA and I see a lot too driving. Highways. the Major Deegan, we see a lot of illegal dumping. Illegal dumping is illegal, but you have to catch the individuals in the act. So if you give us time frames and locations, we call sanitation, and they have an enforcement unit that goes out late night hours, because I've seen a lot of that on Cedar Avenue, along the park and along the highway. Sometimes I've seen trailers, lots of things that should not be there. You all see it every day. Call us so that we can follow up with the 311 calls, with the pictures. There were many instances where people reach out to us on social media. Whatever way of communication you are most familiar and comfortable with, use it. Because at the end of the day, do not assume that someone else is calling. When you look across our districts, Community Board 5, you have a subset of people that will call and not everyone. But guess what? If we clean that street, everybody benefits, not just the 5 people that called. And so yes, if you can take the time to call us, it helps so that we can get the issue addressed as fast as possible.
So there were several questions about programming and youth. So what are some of the programming that can be offered for youth at the River Park Towers? What are some of the strategies for implementing and engaging young people, as well as working with Department of DYCD and ensuring that there are services provided for youth with special needs as well. And so we also have Leslie Wright that's up here that can also maybe assist with that question.
I know, yes, I know. Althea, got it. Well, as you guys know, I've been working with, I oversee DYCD as chair of youth services, and some of the things that I've been definitely trying to work on and make sure it's happening is I know that the middle school here is turned into a community school, and that was part of the process of making sure that there's access to programs specifically for the young people in this area, and also thinking about how do we make sure that it's not just for the kids who are going to the schools, right? And like one of the things that I will say that our mayor does this often is, how do we get our schools open? For me, I believe that all of our schools should be open all the time. Like it's a real easy access for young people to just go, have a gym, have recreation, and all those things. And so really trying to work and get more programs providers over here. Also thinking about how do we activate where we're at right now, right? I know that they do have programming here, but also I've been working with Rural New York, who's right across the river, who wants to do some real programming and thinking about how do we do some partnerships here, and really trying to be creative and bringing more resources specifically here to RPT and to this campus.
With respect to Roberto Clemente State Park, you're here. This park is open 365 days a year. It's yours. We have a vibrant program, calendar of programs for youth, for little kids, for grown-ups, for seniors, everybody in between. The calendar for this month and next month is over on our table. We also have a survey listing other ideas that we have, but we want to hear from you. What else do you want? What else would people like? We partner with the 2 schools, 274 and 219, for after-school programs, for school day programs. The park is used as their gymnasium, as their after-school program. We have a partnership with the Bronx Children's Museum for beautiful after-school art program. We have many varieties of chess programs, both school day, after school, and weekend for kids and youth. It's your park. Come here, be here, send your kids here. You know, we just have great stuff and want to hear from you what else you would like to see, what's missing, what you'd like to see more of. Those programs, thank you. The programs are almost entirely free. Sometimes for some programs, like with soccer, we charge $5. Why? Because it's promise money. It makes a commitment for people to get here. But for that money, for the programs that do have a small fee attached, there's uniforms, equipment, everything is provided. We have t-ball, soccer, volleyball, basketball, you name it. We have it, and there's room for more. So, honestly, from where I sit, it's crazy that you all are in this park all the time. It's beautiful. So come, it's your front yard. Come on over.
Thank you.
All right, also, through the district attorney's office, we work with DYC as well. But we have the Saturday Night Lights program that happens where community centers and schools are open on Saturday for different programs, not just basketball, college prep, soccer, a number of things, but the three of us are just talking, and it's lacking on this side. We have stuff on the east side of the 4-6 with PS11 here, so in Highbridge, but that's not here. This is a big community right here. I'm talking about meeting you where you are. So let's talk about getting that. I mean, we can put our heads together to make sure that kind of program. But Roberto Clemente, I mean, come on, there's a perfect synergy here that is already here. You just need to know about it and take advantage of it, and it's a safe space. I know the 4-6 will make sure, the state police, I know the DA's office, you as a community will make sure that it's safe for our young people to be able to do those things. I want to do everything to prevent people from coming to have to see me in the first place. And it doesn't always work. But know that you have a DA is that even if somebody gets justice involved, that doesn't mean I want to send them to jail or prison. I still want to make sure that I can do some type of intervention to make sure that they be held accountable for what they did, but also they learn from it and have a second chance to be productive members of society. So that's why my community engagement people are here. That's why I want to do the youth advisory council to hear from those young people. That's why we participate in Saturday Night Lights and so many other programs we can do even when there's justice involved, so that way they can get second chances. I don't want to prosecute our kids. I really don't. That case we did last year was a lot of young people, 20 of them. But guess what? Some of them went to jail, some of them went to prison, some of them got diverted because I gave them programs. There's a variety of things that we can do. But those who did go away, guess what? They got to come back. And where are they going to come back? To the same community that they came from. And if we don't fix what's here, they're going to come back to the same thing. So that's why I want to do more. We do re-entry resource fairs. We're going to have one in 2 weeks, right? In 3 weeks, next week. On the 30th, it's going to be in Bronx River houses, but we're doing them now all over. I'm doing them regionally. I used to do big, giant ones in one central place. Now I'm going to each community that needs them. And that's important because then it's your residents. They learn about resumes. We help them with their resumes. We give clothes for them to go on the interviews, interviewing skills, and jobs. The employers are there as well. So these are the things that we need to deal with the root causes of crime. People not having jobs, the schools not being well, mental health, substance abuse. All of those things, we're bringing those resources to you. So please make sure you talk to Trayvon so we can make sure that we do that for our youth as well.
But ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do now moving forward is we are all going to make a better effort to communicate and share information. Because as much as we do social media, email, News 12, BronxNet, it's still not getting to the larger community. So we will make sure that in our offices, we share flyers, the re-entry work that the DA is doing. We have a career fair coming up on February 15th at Borough Hall with the State Department of Labor. So we are looking at careers and job placements. And there will be on-spot hiring by many of the employees we're working with. What we're saying is there's a lot that's happening, but we need to make sure that all of you are connected. You can't always call 311 and get access to upcoming events. They'll tell you the programs that exist, but not necessarily the future events. So we want to make sure that we share the information with President Celeste Burns, the advisory board, management. We'll share it with everyone, community affairs, NYPD, so that all of you have information. And most importantly, when you get the information, guess what? We need you to share it. We will make sure that flyers are either posted in the buildings, in the common areas, because we want to make sure that we stay connected. This is an ongoing partnership that we are embarking on because most importantly, we want all of you to have access to all the information of upcoming events, services, the community schools here, 229 and 274, working with both principals, the Saturday Night Lights program, and looking at expanding that. And this is the state park that's right here in your backyard. There are people that travel to the state park that come from other parts of the borough, and they pass right by the towers. So we want to make sure that we better those connections with the state park and all of you so that you know what's happening.
And that was actually a really good segue into the next question segment, which is about jobs and how can people be better connected to those jobs. So.
Excellent, thank you. Our job fair Thursday, February 15th, Bronx Borough Hall from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll make sure you all have flyers. It's on social media. We have employers that will be on site doing direct hiring. It's a great event. The Department of Labor has an extensive network. We have 3 Department of Labor staff that work in our office every day. So that's one, and we'll have other job fairs and resource fairs, and then also the re-entry event that the DA is doing for those that are coming home and re-entering into our community. So there's a lot that's happening. We want you all to stay connected.
So just to add as well, so on my social, if any of you are following my social media or have social media, please follow me on my link tree in my social media. We actually post jobs regularly because that is one of the number one requests we get in our office. So we try to make sure we keep it up to date. Any jobs that come into the office when people are looking for it, a lot of the nonprofits, I have a lot of good relationships there, so they're always sending us job officers, so you can look there. In addition, if you are not signed up for my newsletter, you should be signed up for my newsletter because we also send out job alerts there as well. We have a number of job alerts. Like I said, people are always reaching out to our office looking for jobs, but there's also a lot of people who are always reaching out to us who are looking for people to work. So please stay connected to my office. That is one of the things that we're always trying to filter out to the community. And we've had a number of job fairs last year. We're looking to do a number of job fairs this year, and we're going to definitely be doing one specifically looking at youth because we have the highest population of unemployment of young people between the ages of 16 and 21 in the state. And so I'm super hyper focused on how do we make sure we're connecting young people to work as well, in addition to everyone else. But because those numbers are so high, it's something that we've really been focused on.
And then for my office, now we'll do the re-entry fair and the other job fairs that goes around, but the Bronx DA's office, believe it or not, is the second highest employer in the county. So I say go to my website and you look under careers and you can apply for a job right from my website. And I love hiring people that are from the community. Because who better to be invested in the work that we do than the people who are actually from here. So please visit our website as well. And again, Trayvon is here. We also have a community newsletter. I'm trying to build up that listserv. So if you want to leave your information so that you can make sure you get our community newsletter, I'd love to have your information as well.
So the next topic is regarding construction and people being able to pay their rent. So there's concerns about with the new construction boom, how will it affect rent, as well as how can people get help paying their rent if HRA denies them. Yeah, I think it's concerns about say gentrification and displacement and pushing people out and how that would increase rent overall. So there's concerns about how people will be able to pay for rent as there's the concern of rent increasing.
Yeah, so that would not affect the residents of River Park because the rents are, we're tied to a 60% AMI. So this is an affordable housing community. So if there's gentrification in other neighborhoods of the Bronx or Manhattan or Queens or Brooklyn, that would not affect the rents of the residents of River Park.
Maybe that could also be addressed generally, not even in River Park counties, but...
So generally, looking at the housing landscape across the Bronx, there's a lot of construction happening, both residential and commercial. But one of the things that we are mindful of at our office, our planning and development team, we monitor all the construction. There are some projects that are going through government subsidies where it's affordable housing, where there are protected rents and AMIs for the new residents of those buildings. Then there is mixed use where you have supportive housing, You have traditional housing, housing for veterans, housing for seniors, housing for DV survivors, right? A number of protected communities. Then you have some projects that are known as of right. So these are property owners that own a property and they're building a project without any government subsidy. Those are the ones where we have the least amount of oversight when it comes to determining the types of tenants, commercial and or residential, that we want to see. So generally New York City is changing, and we realize that. One of the things that our state legislators and city officials are always trying to do is make sure that rents are protected, rent stabilization, rent guidelines, so that you are protected with a 1 or 2 year lease. I also urge you to look at programs that the Department of Finance has, known as DFTA, and SCREE. DFTA, Department for the Aging, DOF, Department of Finance, but SCREE and DREE, the Senior Citizens Rent Increase Exemption Program and the Disability Rent Increase Exemption Program. Sorry, there are lots of acronyms. Many of these programs for eligible New Yorkers cap your rent at a certain level, and the difference, if there is an increase, is made up in tax credits that go to the landlord. We get those applications, we get those clients every day at the office, and we help you with the applications. There are programs out there, but it's all about eligibility, how much your household is, if it's 1 or 2 persons with income, and it's also depending on what you bring as an individual when it comes to your household size and income. And so we are trying our best as a borough to make sure that we look at all of these projects. Every project has its own merit, but I understand and I realize that we are fighting to protect the fabric and the housing stock that we have today. The new housing opportunities and making sure that residents have real housing that's really affordable. We say affordable, but affordable to who? We have to make sure that the families in temporary housing have opportunities. There's a lot that is happening. If you all have any specific recommendations, and most importantly, we usually, the elected officials and I, are contacted when you see new construction. New construction is also regulated by the city, the Department of Buildings, HPD, when it comes to scaffolding, sidewalk sheds, noise permits, traffic changes, DOT. There's a lot that happens. But as you saw what happened on December 11, not too far away, things happen. So we are always looking at ways to improve the system so that we can be preventative and not reactionary. I don't want to wait until the next building collapses to look at the work that DOB is doing and to make sure that they have enough building inspectors. So when people call 311 and say, my building is shaking, there's a crack in my building, that you actually get a response, right? And so that is something that is ongoing. We are working closely with Councilmember Stevens and Councilmember Sanchez to make sure as a borough that we're looking at our infrastructure, which, as all of you know, many of these buildings are old. We're talking about pre-war buildings and old infrastructure in the Bronx and the city of New York. So if anyone has specific projects that you see, you visibly see in the community, please reach out and we will be able to let you know what's happening, as well as Community Board 5. Most applications that are underway for new construction go to the community board. So if you go to the general board meeting or you go to the housing committee meeting, you will find out what's happening in CB5. And we need more community board members too. Shameless plug. Community board applications are starting, they're online. We need more members of the community to join the community board. Thank you.
I was just going to add really quickly too, I think that it's important just to say this. It is a lot of change happening in the community, and I think sometimes it does get very scary, but I do want us to also be open to thinking about, we are at a place where we can really be thinking about what we want to see in our community, and we should be talking to people like me and other elected officials and each other and on the community board about what we want to see. Because what happens is developers come in here with a plan, but we should be coming to them with plans because we do want to see improvements, right? And so when we want to see improvements, we have to be actively a part of those things. Like I said at the start of this, I do not make decisions alone. My tenant block association, a lot of times when these projects are coming to them, I'm asking them, hey, what do you guys want to see in this project? What should I be negotiating? What are some more businesses? Because y'all know more like I know, we need more businesses here, right? And so what does that look like? How do we get more restaurants, more eateries, more activities for our kids to do? More, movie theaters, just regular things, community centers, all the things that we want to see. And those things happen through these construction projects. And so we really need you to be a part of the conversation. And that looks like being a part of the advisory boards, being on the community boards, coming to these meetings, right? But we just need to make sure it's happening and it's happening consistently.
So I know not every detail of every question was asked in this panel, but I know that we hit all the topic areas from all the questions. I have one final question that I think was a really good one to kind of wrap up on and think about River Park Towers looking forward. So how can we move forward and remove the negative stigma off the River Park Towers with crime being decreased in the area? Also, just before that, there is food on the side. Please, before people go, take some of the food. And I really thank you all for being here as well.
Let him answer the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll get to you.
Yeah, I think that was, again, a great question. Thank you for the question. So as I said earlier, and as the young man right here who engaged with the panel, one of the things that I said that I've been involved with for the better part of a solid year is really trying to work with our company, with the leadership members of our company to bring services to River Park Towers. We're doing that generally, but again, River Park Towers stands alone. It's the largest, actually the tallest buildings in the Bronx and the largest asset that our company owns. But I was delighted to hear and certainly really welcome the amount of involvement that this panel is already involved with. The council member, the district attorney's office, the borough president's office. So we're not starting from scratch. We're not. I mean, one of the in Roberto Clemente State Park, as a resource of this community, one of the things that I will do immediately is reach out to these members of our community to help us, because again, we're the management company of the buildings, and our day-to-day obligation is to make sure that the buildings are operating. But certainly in my mind and in the mind of our leadership team, I have brought the point of paradigm. We have operated, and I just want to say this, we have operated in a rather downstream, fixing problems. And the message that I am delivering to my colleagues in the leadership team is that we have to shift the paradigm from downstream to upstream, right? And that's going to take a little bit of work, but engaging with members of the community like you and others that you can put us in touch with, at least know if there's a big takeaway here is that the management and ownership team really are hearing this message, right? And if we want a different result, we have to engage in doing different things to get a different result, right? So part of my work at this point is to engage with the members of this panel in doing what we have to do in order to really realize a different future for this community. Thank you.
And just to add really quickly, I think one of the things when we're talking about stigmas and how do we change it, we change it. We need to be the people controlling our narrative, and I think that that's some of the issues. I say this all the time. I'll have events, beautiful events with we're honoring young people or we're honoring leaders in the community. We'll reach out to the media. No one shows up. But if there's a shooting response, I have every news camera in my face wanting to kind of exploit that. And so the reality is we as a community have to start controlling the narrative. When good things are happening in our community, how are we showing that? How are we showcasing that? How are we putting that on social media? How are we promoting each other's businesses? How are we really looking at the things that's going on in the community and really putting that on display? Because the reality is no one else is going to do it for us. And so we have to get to a place where as a community, we are taking responsibility of our narrative, taking responsibility for our community and doing it. I don't really post things that aren't positive on my page, and it's really about how we uplift them in the community. As a council member, I go hard for the Bronx. I've been at places where people have said things like, if I come to the Bronx, am I gonna get robbed? And so the reality is this is what is put out in the media, because every time you turn on the TV, it is something negative about the Bronx. But we know the Bronx is beautiful and the Bronx is thriving. So we as a community need to take hold of that narrative and change the stigma, not just here at RPT, but across the Bronx.
Well, I agree with the council member. It's up to us to push it out there. So coming out of this meeting, I know we're going to have some positive stuff to report. And we'll push it out. My office will, you do on your social media. You call the Bronx Times and you talk to, whatever news, and let them know that certain good things are happening. And the better we do, the more positive it will be. I mean, we had good news today. Nobody knew about it, but you know because you live here. So we will continue to work hard to make sure that we push it out. So we got a lot of partners here that's going to make sure that happens.
Okay, so we are going to take a couple of questions from the audience. Let's start right here.
Good evening, everyone. Blessed afternoon, everyone. My name is Gloria Daniel, and I have taken the time off from my church service to come here to get educated on what you parents have to say to me. Now, my question is, what is Riverpark Palace is doing? How hard are they working to eliminate the dog